Hello and welcome to our nightly news program. I'm your host, Kirin Zachary, bringing you the latest updates from around the world in today's headlines. Violence erupts as Zionist forces conduct massive incursions and largest raids in 2 decades in the West Bank. Algeria and many countries condemn the flagrant violations by the Zionist entity. Also coming up, high-level delegations from Algeria and Italy engage in fruitful strategic dialogue session promoting bilateral relations and regional stability. Also ahead, Algeria, Saudi Arabia and Russia unite. Significant oil production cuts to impact global markets. And France experiences relative calm after violent riots. Mayors unite to denounce the violence. Hello again and welcome to the program. First off in our news, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune has conducted a partial reshuffle within the diplomatic corps, involving 18 ambassadors, 3 consuls general and 2 consuls, according to the Algerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The move aims to revitalize, and align the diplomatic apparatus with ongoing comprehensive changes in the country, addressing the concerns of the Algerian diaspora and promoting Algeria's interests at various levels. 2 other topical news now, and in a tense and tragic escalation of events, a significant military operation unfolded in the Jenin camp in the West Bank. The recent incursion, led by Zionist security forces, left a devastating toll on the community, resulting in the loss of lives and numerous injuries. More details in this report by Osama Ayadi.
Palestinian citizens faced a violent confrontation with Zionist forces, with the sound of drones overhead and gunshots echoing through the area. The operation involved hundreds of troops engaging in gunfire, while drones circled above a densely populated refugee camp, housing around 14,000 refugees.
What happened is that the soldiers entered a neighbor's house and made holes to go between houses. It's like the 2002 invasion on camp. They went from house to house through these holes. I asked, who is this? They also made a hole between my house and my son's house. I asked, who is this? He didn't answer. He left a dog, and the dog attacked me.
Even healthcare workers were not spared from the violence, as ambulances were blocked by the occupation forces, further exacerbating the injuries among Palestinians. The Palestinian Health Ministry confirmed at least 8 deaths and over 50 injuries in Jenin, with another fatality in Ramallah.
There were strikes and bombs. It was like World War III, not even like the World War I, a third war. They are attacking unarmed people. They are using planes and rockets. This is not supposed to happen in the camp.
The incursions triggered anger and protests among Palestinians, particularly in Gaza. Demonstrators set tires ablaze near the Gaza Zionist settlement border, waving Palestinian flags and expressing their rejection of the extensive raids. The large-scale incursion in the West Bank has resulted in a widespread violence and casualties, reigniting tension and promoting outrage among Palestinians.
Still in the same context, Algeria condemned the Zionist assault against Palestinians, expressing its complete rejection of the continuous incursions and raids on Palestinians, describing them flagrant violations of the provisions of international law and international legitimacy, and calling on the UN Security Council to take full responsibility over the incursions and their results. Many world leaders, including that of Egypt, Iran and Jordan, also condemned the drone strikes on Jenin.
The continuous crimes of the Zionist regime have once again shown that peace and reconciliation and normalization are neither effective nor deter Israel's war machine, and this regime is neither trustworthy nor peace-seeking. Israel's attack on Jenin is a clear example of state terrorism. The people of Palestine have not committed any crime other than defending their own known legal and natural rights.
Still in Palestine, tragic news unfolds as a young man succumbs to a critical head injury sustained from live bullets at the northern entrance of Al-Beirut. The Ministry of Health confirms the martyr as a 21-year-old Mohammed Imad Hassanein, hailing from Deir al-Bala in the central Gaza Strip. He resided with his family in Ramallah and was a student at Al-Istiqlal Military University. Notably, his father serves as an officer in the Palestinian Intelligence Service.
What is going on in the refugee camp is real war. There were strikes from the sky targeting the camp. Every time we drive in around 5 to 7 ambulances and we come back full with injured people.
In a concerning development, the authorities of the Zionist entity have added another layer of pressure on the Makhzen regime by linking their decision on recognizing Morocco's claim on Western Sahara to the hosting of a foreign ministers' forum. This forum, part of a US-sponsored regional normalization initiative, has been repeatedly postponed. The Zionist foreign minister has announced plans to hold the Negev Forum in Morocco next September. Algeria held the inaugural ceremony of the International Association of Algerian Revolution Friends on Monday, with attendees from various countries, including former Mozambican President. Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf highlighted in his speech that the association aims to promote and disseminate universal principles and values while fostering international friendship.
Thanks to their voices and pens, and the sacrifices of some of them with their lives, the Algerian Revolution rose to the ranks of a human epic that stands for true universal values and principles.
أنتم أصدقاء الثورة الجزائرية.
You are the friends of the Algerian Revolution. Thanks to your devotion, your conscience, and your sacrifices for the sake of our cause, you received all the love and gratitude at a moment when our revolution was in dire need for someone to feel its justice and its suffering.
To other topical news, the second session of the Algerian-Italian Strategic Dialogue witnessed the participation of the Secretary General of the Italian Ministry along with his delegation, as both countries discussed bilateral ties and comprehensive political and security issues. Islam Said reports.
The second session of the Algerian-Italian Strategic Dialogue commenced on Monday with a discourse by the Algerian Foreign Minister, Ahmed Attaf, highlighting the economic achievements made between the two countries over the past year. Minister Attaf emphasized the significance of these achievements as an exemplary model within the Mediterranean region.
This year witnessed many achievements through building an exemplary partnership between Algeria and Italy that guarantees the optimal exploitation of all elements of integration that abound in our country on the economic level to form a regional bridge for fruitful cooperation and common prosperity between Africa and Europe, and set to be as an example in our Mediterranean surroundings.
Minister Attaf presented statistics on the number of visits, agreements signed, and a remarkable increase in trade exchanges between Algiers and Rome.
Firstly, number of mutual visits at the highest level during the past 3 years are 2 state visits, a bilateral summit, 3 visits of Italian heads of government to Algeria, and about 20 mutual ministerial visits between the two sides. Secondly, the number of agreements signed in the same period, more than 30 legal texts. Third, the rate of trade exchanges has reached unprecedented levels in the bilateral ties history, as it increased by 250% compared to 2021, and the volume of interinvestments witnessed a tangible increase in the field of energy and other fields.
Regarding political aspects, Minister Attaf reaffirmed Algeria's commitment to intensify interpolitical dialogue. He also emphasized the importance of strengthening a strategic consensus between the two countries, addressing regional and global challenges.
We're also keen to intensify the interpolitical dialogue to consolidate the strategic consensus that unites the positions of our two countries regarding the rapid developments around the Mediterranean. There is no doubt that the challenges that this common space is witnessing are due to the deteriorating security situation in the Sahel region, crises complexity in Libya, Mali and Sudan, absence of aspects for ending the suffering of the two brotherly peoples in Palestine and Western Sahara, as well as the repercussions of the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. There are issues that require us to have more dialogue, more coordination, and more constructive consultation.
During the session, bilateral talks were held between the Secretary General of the Algerian Foreign Ministry and his Italian counterpart. Discussions focused on matters of common interest, ultimately resulting in the signing of various agreements. Algeria and Italy have long enjoyed historic and strategic relations, sharing common visions and interests. Notably, the recent agreement designating Italy as the center of Algerian gas to Europe further solidifies the ties between the two nations.
And in related news, Algerian Foreign Minister Mr. Ahmed Attaf reaffirmed Algeria's steadfast dedication to its role as a trusted regional and global energy provider. He warmly welcomed the recent agreement among Italy, Austria and Germany regarding the ambitious Southern Hydrogen Corridor project. Let's listen.
الجزائر حريصة أشد الحرص.
Algeria is very keen on consolidating the pillars of this strategic partnership in the energy field through its commitment to its role as a reliable supplier regionally and internationally. I also take this opportunity to highlight the promising prospects for cooperation between us in the field of green hydrogen. And I welcome in particular the recent agreement between Italy, Austria and Germany on the Southern Hydrogen Corridor project, and a step that paves the way for a broader agreement within the European Union to support this project that aims to cover 10% of Europe's energy needs by 2050.
And in other news, Algeria secures a significant achievement as it becomes a newly elected member of the International Committee for the Protection of the Rights of All Migrant Workers at the United Nations. A distinguished doctor of psychology and vice president of the National Authority for Health Promotion and Research Development garnered an impressive 44 out of 57 votes. The committee consists of 14 independent members responsible for monitoring the adherence of member states to the International Convention for the Protection of the Rights of All Migrant Workers and members of their families. The Dutch foreign minister has expressed appreciation for Algeria's crucial role and contributions in addressing the global energy crisis. In a statement issued by the Algerian Foreign Ministry, the Dutch diplomat hailed Algeria as trusted and reliable partner, particularly in the context of bilateral cooperation in this field. The statement further highlighted that Algerian Foreign Minister Mr. Ahmed Attaf engaged in a phone conversation with his Dutch counterpart, during which they exchanged views on the latest developments in the Sahel-Saharan region. Algeria made a significant announcement on Monday, revealing plans for an additional reduction of 20,000 barrels per day in oil production during the upcoming month of August. The Algerian Ministry of Energy stated that this cut is in addition to the voluntary reduction implemented in April, amounting to 48,000 barrels per day. As a result, Algeria's crude production would be reduced to 940,000 barrels per day in the following month. Still with the same news, oil prices surged on Monday as Saudi Arabia extended its voluntary cut in crude production by an additional 1 million barrels per day. Russia joined the trend by declaring a reduction in oil exports by 500,000 barrels per day in August. Here's Zahra Farjani with the full report.
In a move to support market stability, Saudi Arabia has extended its voluntary production cut of 1 million barrels per day for another month, limiting the world's largest crude exporter to a total production of 9 million barrels per day in August. Russia, the second largest oil exporter globally, has taken a similar approach by announcing a reduction in crude exports by 5,000 barrels per day in August. This brings the total production cuts by the OPEC Plus alliance to 5.16 million barrels per day, equivalent to 1.5% of global supplies.
Within the efforts to ensure the oil market remains balanced, Russia will voluntarily reduce its oil supply in the month of August by 500,000 barrels per day, by cutting its exports by that quantity to global markets.
The additional voluntary cuts by Saudi Arabia and Russia reinforce the precautionary measures of the OPEC Plus countries to support oil market stability and balance. These cuts come after the implementation of previous OPEC Plus agreements, which included a total cut of 3.66 million barrels per day, accounting for approximately 4% of global crude demand. The oil markets quickly responded to the decisions of Saudi Arabia and Russia, with prices rebounding and achieving gains. This occurred despite concerns about global economic weakness and potential interest rate increases by the US Federal Reserve. The active position of the Energy Alliance, which accounts for about 40% of global crude production, demonstrates its influence in the oil market.
To other regional news, Algeria's ambassador to Mali, Riash Al-Hawass, discloses that as the leader of the international mediation group tasked with implementing the peace and reconciliation agreement in Mali, Algeria has initiated efforts to explore alternative strategies for implementing the agreement. This includes considering the UN Security Council's decision regarding the withdrawal of MINUSMA forces from the country.
Lors de l'entretien, nous avons abordé principalement deux questions.
We talked about the two main issues. The first is the peace agreement in northern Mali and the region based on Algeria's path. The minister renewed Mali's attachment to this agreement and its determination to implement it fully after the Security Council decided to withdraw MINUSMA from the region at the request from Mali.
Still with diplomacy, Algeria is intensifying its efforts to foster regional consensus in its mediation efforts concerning the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. This significant matter dominated phone conversations between Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune and his Italian and Portuguese counterparts. Additionally, the Algerian Foreign Minister's recent European tour reinforced the autonomy and authenticity of the Algerian initiative, widely regarded as a purely Algerian proposal. Following 6 nights of violent riots sparked by the fatal shooting of teenager Nail, France witnessed a relative calm as police made over 150 arrests overnight. Mayors across the country organized rallies to denounce the violence. Let's delve into the details with Salman Asib.
The intensity of the riots in France have diminished after 6 nights of unrest triggered by the police shooting. Mayors gathered at town halls nationwide, demonstrating solidarity with local governments that have been targeted during the violence. Some mayors, like the Conservative Republican Party member, also shared personal experiences of attacks on their homes.
More than ever, a republic and its servants are threatened and attacked. These pillars which schools, the police, and the justice system are. It is our living together. It is secularism. It is equality between women and men, which are attacked every day. In truth, it is democracy itself that is under attack.
French Justice Minister Éric Dupond-Moretti has called for a robust response to the rioters involved in the ongoing unrest across the country. The response comes in the wake of the teenager's killing by a police officer.
I want firmness. I also want to get parents' attention in 2 ways. First, a discourse which is a discourse of public morality. Ladies and gentlemen, take care of your children. And a speech that is much harsher speech, which consists of remembering that when parents are so casual that they jeopardize and threaten the education of children, their health, their safety, it is an offense that is punishable by 2 years imprisonment and a fine of 30,000 euros.
Since the start of the riots, more than 3,000 individuals have been detained, with 45,000 police officers deployed nationwide. The French Interior Minister, Gérald Darmanin, confirmed that the current deployment of security forces would remain unchanged. The rioters engaged in various acts of vandalism, looting, and clashes with the police. Not only mayors but also locals in the Paris suburb of Aulnay-sous-Bois have called for an end to the violence stemming from the police shooting. Protesters held signs demanding justice for victims and an end to the ongoing violence. The riots in France have shown signs of easing as mayors unite against violence, and both local officials and residents call for a peaceful resolution in the aftermath of the tragic incident.
Italy raises concerns over the potential escalation of unrest from France to other European countries. Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani, in a televised statement on Italian channel number 3, emphasizes the need to contain the protest and prevent further spread. Rome has taken proactive measures by alerting its citizens in France about the situation, urging them to adhere to authorities' instructions for their safety. Still in Europe, Polish Prime Minister announced Poland's demand for reform in the European Union's border agency Frontex, I'm saying, and increased funds to manage migration. He emphasized the need for countries securing the EU's external borders to receive additional financial support, while proposing limitations on social benefits for incoming individuals. It is important to highlight that the recent agreement implies that each country would be assigned a specific number of migrants without mandatory acceptance. Sweden's NATO membership bid faces obstacles from Turkey and Hungary, obstructing its path ahead of the upcoming Vilnius summit in July. Sweden aims to join Finland as a full member, but Turkey persists in blocking its membership, citing security concerns. Ankara demands that Sweden addresses anti-Turkey protests before considering its NATO entry.
Our country's stance, our expectations and promises given to us are clear. We are still standing behind what we had stand last year. Instead of losing time with procrastination tactics, it will be wiser, more beneficial, and worthy of seriousness of a state to keep the promises that was given to us.
Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu commented on the short-lived rebellion, assuring that the Wagner Group's brief mutiny had no impact on Russia's special military operation in Ukraine. In the briefing, Shoigu described the Ukrainian counter-offensive as unsuccessful and emphasized significant material and human losses suffered by Ukrainian forces.
Ukrainian units are launching unsuccessful attacks. The Russian armed forces have destroyed 15 aircraft, 3 helicopters, and 920 pieces of armored equipment, including 16 Leopard tanks. This is practically 100% of the tanks of this type supplied by Poland and Portugal. It is about the attempt to destabilize the situation in Russia on June 23-25. These plans failed because the personnel of the armed forces were faithful to their oath and their military duty.
Devastating tornadoes and thunderstorms swept through the U.S. Midwest and South on Sunday, resulting in significant destruction to numerous homes and claiming the lives of at least 3 individuals. The National Weather Service reported multiple tornadoes and severe storms in central Indiana and Arkansas. As a result of the extreme weather conditions, approximately 500,000 utility customers experienced power outages in the affected region. For more stories making headlines around the globe, let's follow the news in brief by Sofiane Kanturi this time.
Sudanese people desperately hope for an early ceasefire as conflicts between the Sudanese army and the rapid support forces continue in the greater capital area Darfur and other regions in the country. Meanwhile, the fighting was also fierce in areas such as the south of Khartoum and the north of Omdurman. Dock workers at Canada's western Pacific coast will resume talks on Monday to try to end the first strike in 3 decades, as the union leader urged on Sunday the federal government to stay out of the negotiations. 2 days earlier, some 7,500 dock workers, representing the International Longshore and the Warehouse Union, went on strike after negotiations with the British Columbia maritime employers failed to reach a settlement. An explosion tore through a building in downtown Tokyo on Monday. The cause was not immediately clear, but witnesses said that they saw flames through the windows of the shuttered second floor of the building and smelled gas. The fire was soon contained, and only 4 people suffered light injuries. According to a recent report released by Norway-based consultancy Restart Energy, the European Union is currently stepping up efforts to stockpile natural gas for winter. The report showed that as of June 25th, the European natural gas in storage stood at around 76%, higher than the 56% in the same period last year. Rottweil hosted the first German court hearing against vaccine provider BioNTech over alleged side effects of COVID-19 inhalation on Monday. Tens of people who received the COVID-19 vaccine developed by BioNTech demanded compensations and acknowledgement of the damage inflicted. However, it's not clear who would pay the legal costs or compensation if the plaintiff wins the case.
Well, that concludes our news program for today. For more updates, follow us on our social media platforms. I'm Karim Zachary signing off. Till next time, take care and stay informed.